Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be showing off my longsword build. I don't use longsword too often, but when I do use it, this is the build that I use. So the weapon I have is the Hellish Slasher. You don't really need to use this. This is the weapon, as usual, is something you could use whatever weapon you want, whatever longsword you want. And then for the charm, I'm using the attack charm 5, which is maxed out at level 5. I'm using the iceproof mantle as just a placeholder. And then we have the temporal mantle, but as always the mantles and equipment are whatever you choose to use. For the helmet, we have the Kaiser Crown B for the critical eye. The latent power isn't really something we're going for, but it's always nice to have the extra affinity and the stamina reduction when it procs, of course. Then for the chest piece, we are using the Wrath Heart Male B. This is the pink Rathian chest piece. Then for the gloves, we have the Frostfang gloves B. This is for the critical eye, though the punishing draw doesn't hurt, considering when you do the sheath draw animation, when you do the full sheath, it is counted as a actual sheath, so punishing draw procs on that, which isn't too much, but it's nice. And then for the waist, we have the Acidic Glavenus Coil B. This is for the handicraft, mostly, just so you have a little bit of extra sharpness on your weapon. It's not a lot, but it's there just to help out, so you have to sharpen a little bit less. And then lastly, for the legs, we have the Young Garuga Greaves B. This again is for the critical eye, as well as those amazing decoration slots. So for the actual decorations that I have equipped, so the because the weapon or the longsword is able to be pivoted to whatever you want to use or like to use, the jewel in the Hellish Slasher itself, if you choose to use this weapon, can be whatever you want. All the skills that I choose to use are in the uh, body pieces. So you could put whatever you want in here. You could put recovery speed, you could put dragon resist. If you are going against someone who or a monster that's using dragon element, you could put in blast if you want to use a blast ailment um, longsword. Again, this is just a pivot decoration slot for whatever you want to use, which is always nice to have. You know, a free decoration slot to kind of fill in some pieces that you would otherwise miss for your comfort. Then for this, in the Kaiser Crown B, we have an enhancer and a maintenance jewel. This is to max out Tool Specialist, which is always nice to have. Having your equipment up more often, as always, is more of a comfort thing than anything, but I always find that maintenance jewels are specifically very good against arch-tempered monsters because they hit like absolute freight trains from hell. And then we're mostly taking this for the enhancer, which allows the longsword to stay up in its white, blue, and red gauge states respectively. Then for this next one, we're doing this for mostly for the critical draw, which again, whether you do a regular sheath or you do the longsword sheath, this counts for those as well. Or this counts for that as well. The recovery up isn't needed, but it's always nice to have. If you have a different draw slash anything jewel, you could use that if you prefer. I just chose recovery up, so if I do ever get hit, I recover that much more from using said health potions. Then for the two level 1 jewels, since attack boost and critical eye are maxed out through other means, these can be whatever you want. I just chose grinder and sheath or quick sheath because quick sheath works with everything as well as or works with regular sheathing as well as the longsword sheath, so it's just another double boon to have. And then grinder, as always, is there because if you ever need to sharpen your weapon in the middle of the hunt while you're fighting and they haven't transitioned to another zone, this just helps you sharpen it a little bit faster so you're not as easy to punish. Then for the next level 4 decoration slot, we have Weakness Exploit and Divine Blessing. As you could probably figure out, we're going for this mostly for the Weakness Exploit. The Divine Blessing is more of a comfort pick. It's not needed, but when it does proc, it's always nice to have. And then for this level 4 decoration slot, we're going for a Grinder Attack Jewel. This is to get speed sharpening to level 2, as well as get the attack boost up to max. Then this one is for Stone Thrower and attack boost. The slinger capacity isn't something we're actively going for, but again, it's always nice to have should the need arise. And then we're mostly doing this for the attack boost to max it out. For the last level 4, that is not a pivot decoration slot, is Grinder and Critical Eye. Obviously, both of these decorations are really good, and to have them together is honestly pretty lucky, I would consider. This is to max out speed sharpening, so you only have to do one sharpen animation to get your sharpness back up to full, or however much you need. And then the Critical Eye is to max out Critical Eye completely. This is an elemental or a non-elemental boost jewel. If you are using an element weapon, obviously you would swap this out for something else. My personal opinion, I would go with Focus or Enhancer. Power Prolonger just makes it so your longsword stays in its empowered states longer, and Focus allows you to fill up the spirit gauge just a little bit faster. You could also go for something like a Destroyer Jewel or a Footing Jewel if you want. This is another pivot thing, mostly depending on what kind of longsword you're using. But I'm using a non-elemental weapon, so I have this slotted. This is Protective Polish in this slot. This is so when you do sharpen your longsword, it stays at max sharpness after sharpening for, I believe, a minute, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit less. This goes really well together with the Quick Sheath and the Max Grinder, so you have a lot of sharpness all the time. And then the 2 decoration slots in your mantles, if you have the slots available, and or if you choose to use a mantle with decoration slots, you can put whatever you want in here. You could do KO for the punish draw, you could do throttle, you could do agitator. These 2 are just pivot pieces, as I always like to have in my builds. So you can maximize comfort or you can maximize offense if you so choose to do so. So, thank you all for watching. I hope this build serves you well in all of your hunts and endeavors. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, or night, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.